This is my old 3-axis laser level, which is getting on a bit now, but if you'd watched my main channel, you would have seen this on a number of the videos. And years ago, I did a review of this, and ever since then, I've been looking to sort of upgrade it. But to be honest with you, no other 3-axis laser level that I've come across really does anything different, so I've saved my money. Until now. This is the new Hupar W04CG 3-axis laser level, and there's lots of things about this that are very similar to lots of laser levels on the market. 3-axis means that you've got a line in each direction, and this one actually has, rather than 3, it's actually got 4. It's got 2 horizontal lines, one at the top, one at the bottom. It comes with a variety of accessories like this lanyard that you can use it to secure at height so it doesn't fall off and break. It also comes with this fine adjustment clamp that you can screw it onto. The clamp is magnetic, so it easily attaches to anything that's metal, and it's got a fine vertical adjustment and a lock to keep it at the level you want. It also comes with a target, the sort of thing that I never really use, to be honest with you, and this little lift table if you're just using it from, let's say, a bench rather than a tripod. You can use that, or maybe from the floor if you're doing some flooring. The unit itself is IP54 rated, and the laser lines are green and 1mm in width and accurate to plus or minus 3mm at 10 meters distance. This is currently being sold through Amazon. I'll put an Amazon link in the description below if you want to have a look. It also comes with an external battery, which I quite like, which also means that you can buy a second battery. These are worth about £30, and generally this battery has lasted me all day. So if you were to be using this every day a week, naturally you go and buy another £30 battery, which means you can just clip it in and use it continuously. But unlike my other laser level, it's a little bit clever when it comes to charging the battery. You can see you can do it in 2 ways. Firstly, you can charge it through this standard USB-C socket that's out the top of the battery, and it actually comes with a cable and a USB-C charger, but we've all got those for our phones anyway. However, if it does run out while you're working, you can also charge it through this nifty little socket here, which means that even if the battery goes, you can just plug a USB-C in there. It will not only still fire up the machine, it actually charge the battery at the same time, and it means you can keep working rather than just stopping because your battery's now gone. However, this has got 2 features that I wouldn't normally see on a DIY stroke builders type level. Let me turn it on and I'll show you. Just like any 3-axis laser level, this automatically levels itself using a pendulum system on each lens, and to release that and turn the whole unit on, there's a switch here that releases the pendulum and turns everything on. So you've got 2 vertical cross lasers and then 2 horizontal, one coming from the top and one coming from the bottom. And the bottom one means you can get really close to the floor, so if you are doing some sort of flooring works or tiling works, you can get within, that's about the thickness of my finger, so that's maybe 18-20 mil off the bottom. This particular laser level has got a couple of tricks up its sleeve, because firstly it's got a digital display here, and the display can tell you what's on and what state the laser level is in. The first thing it tells you is which lasers are on by these little squares, and you've got the horizontal and vertical that you can actually cycle around and turn on and off. So as you press this button multiple times, you can either have them all on or one at a time, or you go round in circles. Same with the vertical. The next thing it shows you is something that I've not seen on any consumer laser level at all. I've seen them on the really, really expensive laser levels we tend to use in the construction industry, but not something you'd ever use at home. And that is how level the actual unit is in an X and Y. You can see this is in degrees. So if I just move it slightly, you can see one of the numbers going up, the Y number going up. If it goes over 3 degrees, then it will start beeping at you to tell you you've gone over the limit, the pendulum moving about. That's leveled. But if you go over 3 degrees, then it's getting to its limit, so it beeps at you. And the same in the other direction. In the X direction, if I roll it back, you can see the numbers go up until it beeps at you. Now that is handy for two reasons. Because firstly, you can understand at the beginning when you're trying to level it, where you are, rather than just trying to get it level and trying to get it into the automatic state. But secondly, it does something that I've not seen on any other domestic level, which I'll show you. So if I turn the unit off, that means that the automatic section is now locked. And if I want to actually put something at an angle, all I have to do is press this on button for a couple of seconds. The unit comes on and I can now adjust the laser level, laser lines, to whatever angle I want. And I know what angle I'm at because it says it on the screen. So I can now actually set up my laser level at whatever angle I want. Whereas most levels you can lock off and set them at an angle, but you don't know what angle that is. This one will tell you exactly what angle in both directions that the laser is at, which means for landscaping, if you want a 10% fall or 5-degree fall, you can actually set this to whatever you want and you know exactly the fall or the angle that this is now projecting its laser beam at, which isn't something I've seen on any other laser level because most of them don't have an LCD screen. So this is quite novel that you actually can tell what angle you're putting the lasers to. But that's not the pièce de resistance of this laser level. Let me just put it back into automatic mode and I'll show you why it's impressive. One reason they sell these lasers with lifts and fine adjustment is so you can actually move them up and down and line them up with maybe a mark you've marked on the wall. So the fine adjustment up and down, just using this lift here, can really come in handy. And the same with if you put it on a tripod, it's really handy to have that fine adjustment. However, most laser levels, the ones that I've seen that are sold on the domestic market, you really want to do that also left and right with the vertical lines. But I've never seen a way of doing that other than slightly twisting it and trying to make it line up with some line that you've put on the wall until now. And that's because this laser level can actually rotate. There's a number of different ways you can make it rotate. The first one, using these buttons at the top, you don't have to actually press them, you just need to touch them lightly. They just recognise that your finger is just touching it, a bit like a touch screen on a mobile phone, say. And that means that you can actually move the laser level around, move the vertical lines around until they line up with whatever you want them to line up with. The speed that it rotates you can change. The fast one is 3, then you put it onto 2, which means it just turns a lot slower. And then for that real fine adjustment, if you put it onto 1, then it really turns very slowly. So for instance, if I wanted to line the laser level up with a mark that I've made on the wall, then I can put it into fast mode until I get close to it. I can then change it to speed number 2. And then when I'm really close to it, I can set it to the finest speed and literally just sneak up on that. Just move it by a touch. And as I said, there's more than one way to control it because in the kit, you also get a remote control, which you can use in the same way. And you move it wherever you want at a higher speed, then you can knock it down to speed 2, which means that you're still not the finest. And then you can really zero it in just by using the remote control, which I think is a great idea. But it doesn't stop there. No, no, no. You can actually also download an app for your phone, which means you can control everything from your phone, from the different lasers going on and off and which ones are on, to whether you're moving it from side to side. So you've got a high, medium or low setting, so you can move it whatever you want to on the phone until it's right in the right position. And you can also reduce the brightness, so you can knock down the brightness to something a little bit lower if you're working in a really sort of low light, you don't want it blaring in your eyes, or if you're working somewhere fairly bright, put it all the way up to maximum. Personally, I think I would probably end up using the remote control just because it's easy, and as long as you haven't lost it and you just keep it in the box, then you don't have to open your app, you don't have to start playing with your phone. You can just use everything on your remote control. And if you don't own your own laser level, you may think to be able to move the laser left or right with a remote control is just a bit of a gimmick. But let me tell you that so often you're trying to line up a laser with a mark you've already marked on the wall, but you're standing at the laser end trying to make micro adjustments, but you're 3 meters away. So every time you touch it, it moves a few inches one way or the other. It can take quite a bit of time to set up. This, you can actually stand at the business end, and with that micro adjustment, just move it slightly until it's bang on. So that is a really handy thing to have, either on your phone, your remote control, or just on the top here. And the last thing I need to mention is what I hear on so many videos reviewing laser levels, which is, can you see it in the daylight? Well, although this particular one has a nice, clear, strong green beam, don't expect to see any laser levels out in the daylight. And that is because they're class 2. They're limited to a certain power, no more than 1 milliwatt. That's for our safety, which means you can look into the laser briefly without getting blinded. To see laser light outside, you'll need a class 3 or 4 laser. Well, as a public, you're not allowed to buy those because they're so blimmin' powerful. They'll either blind you or take your skin off. Now, if you're going to use something like this outside, what you need instead is a detector. They're very easy to use and highly accurate. So to use a detector with a laser like this, you put it on what they call pulse mode, and it just flashes a couple of times. Then with a detector like this, you can just move it up and down until it recognizes the laser. And when there's a constant tone, you mean you're in the middle. It shows you whether you should need to go up and down. And that works for both ways. You can actually use it horizontally as well. So if you're going to be working outside, you're going to need a detector like this, because the chances are you're not going to be able to see the lines unless you're working at night. Range wise, this easily work up to 15, 20, 25 meters. So excellent for landscaping in your garden, or if you're building an extension or something like that. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've learned a little bit about the latest Hupar W04CG. I will see you next time.